Hello, mathematicians. So we have now finished topic 8, and hopefully you already went in and took the topic 8 assessment. I know some people told me yesterday that they did very well on it, so I'm very proud of you. We're now going to move on to topic 9. So we are going away from the multiplication of fractions, and we're now going to be doing some division. We're going to be starting with a division using a lot of drawings and thinking about basic division and basic fractions. And then we're going to be moving on to division of fractions themselves. So one fraction divided by another fraction. What I want to look at today is we're going to look at the solve and share and look back for lesson 9.1. We're going to look at the visual learning, and you can watch that visual learning video on Pearson Realize. And then we're going to go over the Convince Me, and we're also going to look at the guided practice on lesson 9.1. So for lesson 9.1, it is called Fractions and Division, and it says, I can understand how fractions are related to division. So to find a relationship. The solve and share itself, I want you to think about drawing in order to solve problems. So sometimes using a picture and having that visual can help us to understand the mathematics behind what they're asking us. So the solve and share itself is 4 people want waffles for breakfast. There are 6 waffles left. How can 6 waffles be shared equally among 4 people? How much does each person get? Draw a picture and write a division expression to model the problem. And the speech bubble is telling us you can use a circle to model each waffle. So what I know so far is I know we have 6 waffles and I know we have 4 people. So our number model is going to obviously be 6 waffles divided by the 4 people, and that's what we're trying to find out. So what does each number represent? My 6 is how many waffles I am starting with, and how many people are going to share those waffles. The reason why the 6 is in the beginning of my equation is because think about if I flipped it around, would I do 4 people divided by 6 waffles? Would that really make sense? So if you're unsure, say it out loud to yourself and think when you're asking somebody if you had to actually share waffles with your family or your friends, how would the problem be presented? So 6 waffles divided by 4 people. Okay, so when I go to solve this problem, obviously I'm going to be doing a drawing here. There are a couple different ways that I can approach this. So the first thing that I'm thinking about, and again, there's no way that's the right way, so you can think about it however is easiest for you to understand. One thing that I notice already is that I have more waffles than I do people. So I already know that each person's going to get at least 1 whole waffle. So one thing I can do is I can say person 1 gets that waffle, person 2 gets that waffle, person 3 gets that waffle, and person 4 gets that waffle. So I know already that each person's going to get 1 whole waffle. I know my answer is going to be a mixed number then. Looking at what I have left, I only have 2 waffles, but I have 4 people. So I know that they can't each get another whole. So my number is going to be 1 and something. When I have these last 2 remaining, I can separate them in one of 2 ways. I can either cut them each in half and give person 1, person 2, person 3, person 4 each a half of a waffle, which would mean my answer would be 1 1/2. Or I can actually take each waffle that's left and I can divide them into 4 pieces and say person 1 gets a 4th, person 2 gets a 4th, person 3 gets a 4th, and person 4 gets a 4th. But then because there's another waffle available, person 1 gets a 4th of that one, person 2 gets a 4th, person 3 gets a 4th, person 4 gets a 4th. The only thing that you have to be careful about with this now is when we talk about what is the fractional part that they're getting, the whole is still going to be 4/4. So this person number 1 is getting 1/4 from here, and they're getting 1/4 from there. Remember, when we add fractions, we don't add denominators. So they're not getting something out of 8, they're getting something out of 4. So they're getting 1/4 plus 1/4, which means they're getting 2/4. They're getting their 1 whole, and they're getting 2 of the 4 pieces that make the whole of the second 2 that are left. These 2 fractions I know are equivalent because I know that I can divide 2 and 4 by 2, and I end up with 1/2. So my final answer is going to be 1.5. Now, before we move on, I want to also think about it in terms of, I could have taken those waffles and I could have also done the same thing there. I could have, instead of giving each person a whole waffle, if I wanted to split them up into 4 pieces so they're each sharing a waffle, it could have looked like this. So just to show you that it's not wrong to do it in a different way. And then each person would have gotten, so person 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on all the way across. And then when I'm thinking about it, if I focus on person number 1, for example, they're getting 1/4 or 1/4 from here, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, 6/4. That's only person 1 that we're looking at, remember. So person 1 is getting 6/4 of the entire thing of waffles. Again, when I simplify that down, 6/4, improper fraction. So I say, how many fourths make a whole? I know 1/4. 4/4 makes 1 whole. I have 2/4 left over. So my answer is 1 2/4, which again simplifies down to 1.5. So different ways to do it. No correct way to do it as long as you're ending up with that final answer of 1.5. Okay, so we have already answered the how do I write that as a number model. So that is my number model expression that I would do to solve this problem. We're going to jump down to the look back where it says one of the waffles was burnt. Explain how they can share 5 waffles equally. So nothing changes here as far as the setup of the problem other than I'm going to be using different numbers. So now instead of 6 waffles in my number model, I'm going to change it to 5. So my new equation is 5 divided by 4 equals x. The only thing I need to do now is I need to get rid of these, and I'm going to get rid of one of the waffles. So same thing as what happened before. If I want to give each person a whole waffle, we still have enough to do that because we have less people than we do waffles, so everybody could have 1. So person 1, 2, 3, 4 could each have 1 whole waffle, and then they would split that last waffle and each of them would get 1/4 or 1/4. So my answer for that part would be 1 1/4 or 1 1/4. If I go back and I did it the way I modeled this by cutting each waffle into 4 pieces, again, if we focus just on person number 1, they're getting 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4 of the whole. And that again simplifies down to 1 1/4. 4/4 makes a whole, 1/4 left over, so 5/4 is the same as 1 1/4. It's actually pretty easy when you're doing the drawing. The thing that you just have to remember, again, is this part. When I am finding the whole, I'm basing the whole out of 1 piece or 1 waffle in this case. So again, it's not 4 pieces, 4 pieces, 4 pieces, 4 pieces, 4 pieces for a total of 20 pieces. My denominator is not going to be 20, it's going to still be 4. Okay, so that was the solve and share and the look back for lesson 9.1, fractions and division. Look for the next video where I'm going to go through the visual learning, convince me